My name is Jeff Gimiolo, and today I'm going to talk about the hamster wheel of karma. It sounds funny. It was meant to sound funny, but let's talk about it. What is karma? Karma is literally training for your soul. It's either positive karma or negative karma. Because karma has a negative connotation, generally I call positive karma, which is positive reinforcement, dharma. That's the closest thing, is you're getting good fortune instead of bad. You're getting a blessing instead of a lesson. The bad karma literally means you're getting, kind of a little bit of a spank that you did something wrong. It's a correction from the universe or correction from God. You can think of it that way. So karma actually affects your soul. And also, because it affects your soul and you keep coming down here lifetime to lifetime to learn lessons, you're technically come here to not learn the same lesson over and over and over again and try. But you need to learn, you need to grow and learn other lessons. And that's where the hamster wheel comes in, because that's how it relates to the hamster wheel. If you've ever seen a hamster on a wheel, it'll sit there all day and go up, see down, up all day. And it's the same thing what people do is in this lifetime, they'll do the same thing over again because they're familiar with it. They pass away, they come back, and the same influences they had before come back and do the same thing to them and say, hey, why don't you do this? It feels comfortable to them, so they go do it. And they just keep repeating this giant cycle. Universal law has a universal law of cycles. And that literally means it's going to keep repeating itself until you change it. And that's the hamster wheel. It just keeps going around and around until the hamster gets off the wheel. It decides to get off the wheel and says, I'm done. And usually that's what happens to a hamster, by the way. They'll go and they'll run on that wheel for like 6 or 7 weeks, and then they'll stop and never use it again. Go figure. It's not for exercise as you would think. But regardless, it was a funny analogy, that's why I used it. Let me throw something out there, hypothetical. I've heard rumblings of it, that maybe a soul only actually knows 10,000 other souls. You kind of have a soul clique that you belong to. I wouldn't say tribe, not a soul tribe or anything like that, but you have a clique that you train with and everything else. So essentially, people who do you wrong could actually be part of your soul tribe, oddly enough. As crazy it is. But regardless of that, if you say you got these, like, say, 10,000 people, 10,000 souls. So in different reincarnations, there are different roles to you. One could be your enemy, one could be your friend, one could be whatever. That's why you have a familiarity with them. As soon as you meet them, you think you're meeting them for the first time, but actually your souls have met many times. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes romantically, it's the same way. Someone's totally toxic for you, you're kind of addicted, you don't know why. It's because, well, you got sucked back into another trap. But karma is very interesting because between lifetimes, if you didn't clear your karma, totally clear it, you get it again the following one, which means you get new karma and you get your new mission plus the old mission, and it gets real hard to work on. And that's the point, is people fall back to what they did before. Oh, we cheated and did this, so we're going to do that. It's also subconsciously, it's actually all in your energy. But your soul just kind of does that. And the problem with that happening is actually you're not growing. Really, you're not growing at all. You're just learning how to adapt to slime. You're not really growing. And some could say, yeah, that is growing. You're learning to adapt. I go, no, actually, I can't even say you're going with the flow. You're not even changing. You're just doing what you did before. You remembered it, so you did it. That's why when we're here on Earth, in the training school, we actually forget everything we know before. We kind of get little hints as we go on of what we did. We get hints from other people, that maybe you're good at this, you kind of figure that out. But there's actually a reason for that. It's actually so you don't take your old grudges on people. If you found out the last, the person that you were dating, that the last 10 times you had a lifetime with them, they were your enemy and they killed you. I don't think you'd have them as your, as your romantic partner. Think about it. And you wouldn't be very nice to them. As I said, it's just the mere fact you don't know puts you at a nice even playing field. And that's the way it should be, because you're here to learn. Just like stuff's worse than death. Yes, there is something worse than death. There's something worse than hell, actually, too. And that's the wood chipper. When your soul is deemed not worthy of actually living anymore, because it refuses to grow. And it's not hard to refuse to grow. It's just you get into a cycle of, this is what I'm going to do. This is the pattern I want. Think about it this way. If your soul is here to grow, and say the last 10 lifetimes you did nothing but drink your entire life, more than likely the powers that be are going to dump you into a different contract and force you to come to grips with that. And if you continue to still do the drinking, wood chipper it is, because there's no correcting that. And God does love us, and He loves us, and He needs to punish us sometimes. And sometimes the ultimate punishment is wood chipper. As I call it the wood chipper. Actually, that's all it really is. It takes your soul among other souls, and they throw them in there, and it actually chomps them up into little bitty pieces, almost like soul molecules, I guess. And then at this point, they just sweep them up and recombine them into a new set of souls. But because the recipe is different, hopefully you'll get a different result. So it's never wasted. It's just a new soul is made, and some, not all pancakes are good, if you can think of it that way. Not all recipes are good. You can't always substitute sugar and salt and mix the two, accidentally get the wrong ingredient. Regardless, parts of the hamster wheel are funny. It could come from your parents. Generationally, your mother drank, their mother drank, more than before that drank. It just runs in your family. That's also a hamster wheel, but it's not necessarily of karma, but it's of disaster. It's what they call a generational curse, of alcoholism, of cheating, of just you name it, it's out there. But what's funny about that is all it does is take you to say, something, I just don't want to drink. And once you say that and mean it, you'll get tested. And I'm not saying you can't drink at all. It's just you're not drinking every day like they are. You change the reason why you drink, I guess you could say. Because once you do that, what happens is something magic happens. You burn up some karma, and you generally move to a new timeline. Okay, which is like a new story, I guess you could say. If you look at the story, the idea that you're the star in your story. Someone wrote a script, gave it to God, and God said, I want it to run, but they chose me to be the star. And that's how all the parts fit together. So God is actually we're making a play for the Lord. Because they've already played out, they already wrote it in the spirit world. And they already know everything's going to go on. We just don't know. And it translates differently up there from down here, so. Over there you go to jail, here, you get a flat tire. It's kind of weird like that, but it's equally as catastrophic, I guess. But back to this generational thing, like say for sake of argument, say alcoholism. Once you say no, you get tested, you'll get tested once or twice, and then at that point, you're on a new timeline. Now, you get new challenges, but also you find that life's a little easier now because you're starting to grow. And once you start to grow, maybe you were a smoker too, and then you realize, maybe, that's, man, all my family smoke too. Something, I'm sick of the smell of smoke, and you stop smoking. All of a sudden, whoa, you popped another timeline. You're on a new one now. Now you're too away from your family. Your family can't relate to you. They don't know what's going on. You basically say, I just don't want to do this anymore. And you get more and more distance from them. And that usually causes a problem. Well, not necessarily for you, problem for them. Because they don't want to change. You have to remember, they're on that little hamster wheel. You moved off the hamster wheel and you said, nah, I'm tired of the hamster wheel. It's going nowhere, because you recognize it's going nowhere. And that's one gift we have as humans, is as soon as we recognize a pattern, that we're on this little hamster wheel, and the quicker we change that, the better off we are. And people forget that. Especially old souls that have been here a while. Because old souls are not always wise. It means they actually may also be stubborn. And that's also the case too. But, as I said, there's also some young ones out there too that are stubborn. So, now there is good news. Once you kind of figure out why you're on this hamster wheel, and you stop it, generally your life really improves a lot. You get new challenges, new things happen. You kind of, you get very different challenges. Think of it this way. When you're an alcoholic, certain things challenged you. When you stop drinking, different things challenge you. And usually it's higher things challenged you, not lower things. Now, you were challenged to get a better job and you got one. Oh, wow, you keep challenging yourself. So now you're kind of like, yes, I'm excited. But it all started with you deciding that you didn't want to stand the wheel. Sometimes peer pressure is terrible too. Peer pressure will try to suck you into, drinking or whatever addiction you got, or whatever wheel of karma. There's friend groups that go and they sleep with each other. It's like, what the hell? I go, first of all, you can't be friends and sleep together. Kind of once that breaks apart, you kind of should break up the relationship. And if your relationship is that kind of friendly, I don't think I'd want to be in a relationship with any of y'all, actually. Because that, you don't know what your relationships are. Because that means you don't cherish anything at that point. You don't cherish friendship. You don't cherish, romantic relations. If you're intermingling them all that way, But I'm a little old-fashioned that way. Matter of fact, let me rephrase that. I'm not old-fashioned. I'm practical. Because oddly enough, trust is all in this thing. And I'll be honest with you. If you think you trust these people, that's why STDs are going around like a wildfire. Can't figure out why. Most of the country actually, I think is 45 or 50% is the last statistic I heard, actually has an STD, don't even know it. So that's a lot of fooling around. It's sad. Ironically, the funny thing about peer pressure is you can actually peer pressure other people too. So it's not just people pressuring you, you're pressuring other people. So it's kind of like, it's like a support group for alcoholics, stuff like that. And you all kind of feed off of each other. It's very weird. But what's funny about karma, what people don't realize is when you do things together like that, you actually also share karma also. And once you break away, that's one less person to share karma with. You see that a lot with people who have those, quote, open type of relationships where they're friends with benefits and they have like 4 or 5 different ones on the go and stuff like that. You know how much energy you're exchanging with people? How much karma you're exchanging? Because, no offense, every time you have sex, you're exchanging karma too. So that means if you're a goody two-shoes, you're not going to be very good two-shoes for very long because you're starting to pick up other people's karma. But the good news is this person with this terrible karma is actually getting goody two-shoes karma. So you're making their life better and your life is stinking. And that's what people don't realize about karma. That's why they tell you, that's why after a while, when you care about karma, once you learn about it, you kind of be celibate for a while. It's better to be alone than to be with the wrong person. That's the way you look at things. It's not a wrong statement. When I got married, I used to have actually, if you could relate karma and luck, let's say. I didn't have good luck, I had fair luck, which means it wasn't bad luck, it wasn't neutral, it was fair. So occasionally things would happen to me in the good, and sometimes, most of the time, was neutral. When I got married, I'll tell you right now, she had bad luck. Like really bad. Her karma was bad. She has been paying karma for generations, I'll guarantee you that. Because look at what went happen on in her life. And second of all, when she got together with me, my karma turned almost more neutral down to bad. More bad things were starting to happen to me just by being with her. And when we departed ways, for a couple years after that, it was getting slightly better. And then finally you knew when the drop off hit, when she can't go in my energy anymore. And she can't cling to me, because all of a sudden I started to get good luck again. A lot more good luck. Because now I recognize that was bad luck. People forget that. So when you're with somebody, you meet somebody and your luck starts improving for the worse, you may want to dump them. And also you may want to, listen more to your spirit guides. And unfortunately, if you're a drinker, you're pretty much not talking to your spirit guides. That's usually how that one works. Because you're really not usually in a state of, calmness when you have a lot of alcohol in you, or a lot of drugs, or anything for that matter. I don't know if marijuana counts. I don't know. I've never been one for that. Smoking, if you smoke excessively, yes, that also counts as a drug. Toward the end, I would smoke. Well, actually, I think I was smoking 3 cigarettes a day, and it was still affecting me to where I wasn't the best. It's when I finally eventually said I'm done with smoking altogether. Within a couple weeks, my lungs cleared up really quickly. Because, for about 2 years, I was only smoking 3 cigarettes a day. Which, I guess in the smoking world, 3 cigarettes a day literally means you're just inhaling pollution. It's just more concentrated with nicotine. As opposed to, actually, my wife used to smoke 2 packs a day. I think she reduced to 1 pack, and I don't know what she does now because I just don't care. But from what I gather, actually, she smokes quite a bit. So I suspect she'll be having lung cancer eventually. Because when we were together, she would have the rasp of death, like the and just that she was like 35, 40 years old. So it's very unheard of for someone to smoke that much. I smoked since I was 12 years old, and I've never had that because I've always stopped myself and said, whoa, that's kind of bad. Every time I've ever heard that, that's a really bad, raspy, not good sound. And I would naturally cut the volume down to where, hey, maybe I shouldn't be smoking so much. Maybe I'll only smoke, twice today or 3 times today. I would regulate, not over-regulate, go from 3 packs to 2. No, 3 cigarettes a day. But as I said, I was smoking for 40 years, and I just said, I'm just tired of this. And that's, by the way, that was a generational curse also. And actually, the way I quit that, I'll tell you how I quit that one. I went and did the tapes. That didn't work. I wanted to do the patch. I found out that I could smoke and do the patch and do Copenhagen dip. And it still didn't help. So I stopped the patch. I went and stopped most of the Copenhagen, and I actually switched to. I was gonna switch brands. I switched brands like every day. I would get a pack of cigarettes and I would switch brands. And I found out it didn't help. Whether it was menthol or whatever, it did not help. And then I thought about it, and a thought popped in my head from my spirit guides, I guess. And it was, well, what would you do in the old days? I'm like, well, in the old days. I go, oh, well, how would you stop your kid from smoking? Oh, that was easy. My parents didn't care, but typically the way a parent would actually stop their kid from smoking is give him a carton of cigarettes, lock him in a closet, and basically make him smoke the whole carton, and he'll come out and never smoke again. Well, from a person who's been smoking for 40 years, or about 40 years, what I did is actually I did the next best thing. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get 2 packs of Pall Mall non-filtered, which my grandfather used to smoke. And those are nasty cigarettes. I'm shocked they still sold them. Matter of fact, when I first lit the first one up, I swear it was 10 years old. They don't make those anymore. I think I paid like $12, like a pack for those. Special because, and that's like twice as much as a regular pack of cigarettes. Because I think they were vintage or they were, something like that, which means they might have been actually not making them anymore. But either way, it actually helped a lot because when I first smoked the first half of that pack, I choked so much that when I went to go get another cigarette later on that day, I had immediate gag reflex just by touching it. I didn't even want to light it. Put it back in there. I was like, I'm done. Then I took the pack and a half, and I put them in the car and said, if I want them, I can go out in the car and get them. And there's a psychological reason why I did that. Generally, most people will panic if they don't have access to it. So I said to myself, I could have it. I just have to go outside to the car to get it. So I can't smoke in the house anyway. So I want to smoke outside. So I got to go all the way to the car to get my cigarettes. It's like, okay. So I would think about it and I'll go like, and as soon as I sat there and said, maybe I need a cigarette, I go, oh no. Because immediately what popped in my head is the feeling of the choking. So when you started smoking, it felt good. And you stopped because it didn't feel good. And that's what worked for me. Literally, I think it was last year, I finally threw them out of the console of my car. Don't need them anymore. I probably didn't need it after 6 months. Because generally, any habit, if you've done it for a month or 3 months, it becomes a habit. So it became a habit of me not smoking. And usually you're pretty clear after that. You just have to watch. With me, coffee was intertwined with cigarettes. So to me, I just drank more coffee, which I was already drinking 2 pots a day. So what's an extra half pot? And actually, I feel over the last couple of years, I'm down to, right now, none. But usually, I used to do 1 or 2 cups a day. Bigger cups, 24-ounce cups. So you're looking at probably nowadays, it'll probably be about 24 ounces a day, which is a far cry from 20 cups a day. But it's an improvement. But that's the talk about karma and the hamster wheel. It's once you're on it, it's very hard, but the only way off of it is you need to make a conscious choice to stop. And I do hope everyone has a conscious choice to stop, because it's not fun being on the wheel. As much as it sounds like it, it's... And eventually, as I said, if you keep not growing, the Lord will do what the Lord is going to do. No offense, the Lord's going to do it anyway. But we're back to that free will thing. You can do it with free will and not do it. This means you generally get to pay the price, and things take 3 times longer. Just from my experience. But I'd like to thank you for listening, and have a great day.